Hello and welcome to Matt's Garage. So today I'm going to be showing you how to do a very basic wheel alignment on your vehicle at home. And the only real tool you need is just a roll of masking tape. And so this is my dad's 2005 PT Cruiser. And it's been tracking poorly. The steering wheel's off center on the highway. And so we're just going to set the toe in so that it tracks properly and we don't have any tire wear issues or anything like that. If your toe's not set properly, you'll start to notice wear either on the outer edge or the inner edge of the tire, depending on whether you're towed too far out or too far in. So I normally set my toe in about 1/16 per side. That means that it's towed in, like the front of the tire is in about 1/16 of an inch more than the back of the tire when you go from a straight line from the back tire. So this particular alignment isn't going to address caster and camber, and we're not doing anything with the rear wheel alignment other than it will be somewhat checked from the straight line we run to the front wheels. But that is a solid axle in the back of the PT here, so there really isn't a lot of adjustment. And it's got a strut set up on the front, which also doesn't have a lot of like camber angle adjustment on there. You can buy kits for them to adjust that, but since we're not setting this car up for the track or anything like that, it's just my dad's daily driver, we're not going to go to that extra step. We just want to set it so that it tracks nicely down the road. You can see here the steering wheel's quite badly off center, and that's where it is when you're driving down the highway currently. So what we want to do here is straighten out the wheel perfectly straight. And then we're going to take a baseline measurement of how far we got to move each wheel. Basically run our tape line and see how far each wheel has to move to get in alignment with the steering wheel again. So we're going to do that, of course, with the full weight of the car on it, and then we'll jack up the car, fiddle with the alignment, and then we'll check it again. You can check it in the air in between, but it's not going to be as accurate. So when you do your final check before you road test it, you definitely want to have it sitting on the ground for that one. Okay, guys. Well, depending on the shape of your car's body, try to aim for as high as you can on the tire, like sort of in the center line will give you the most accurate measurement, but on some cars the body will come out past that, so you'll have to go a little lower to avoid that. On this car I can go right in the center. So you just stick that nice and good and square on there, and I'll pull a line straight up to here. And then it's important how you hold the end of this. Like if you twist your fingers or whatever, it's going to curve the tape, believe it or not. And the same thing with, I can see right now it's not stuck very square on the back, so I'm going to go fix that up. Just make sure that you have the tape pulling straight, that it's stuck square on both ends. Or on this end, you stick it on this end and you just hold it on that end, but. Okay, so we got it stuck nice and straight now, and we're gonna hold it really squarely on there, and we're gonna bring it up slowly because it will kind of wanna vibrate a bit. Okay, so right there it's contacting the back of the tire. And I've still got 1/4 inch on the front of the tire. So I'm just gonna hold you here so you can see that. You see how that touches, and then if I bring it right in, you can see how it's angling from the back of the tire there, because it's already contacted on the back. So that needs to come out almost till the front touches the tape. I want it just a whisker away from the tape on the front. So we're going to stick that right there, and then we're going to go to the other side and do the same thing so that we know where we're at as a baseline, and then we can jack up the car, make the necessary adjustments. Okay, so we're going in the same area of the tire on this side for side-to-side accuracy. You don't want to have one side up and one side down on the tire. That's going to change everything. So okay, so just like I thought by looking at it, this side's the exact opposite. It's way out on the front edge of the tire, and it's in on the back. So see, I just have that stuck on the front of the tire there. Then if you come around to the back of the tire, you can see right there. So that's about the same amount. You couldn't see it as well on the other side, but that's about the same amount as I have behind the tape on the other side. So we want to completely get rid of that on this side here, and have that touching the tape, and then just have a smidge behind the tape on the front. Okay, so we are going to start by removing the wheel here just to access things a little better. But before you remove that wheel, one thing you do want to check for wear on the steering and suspension components. I have recently done quite a bit of work to this car, so I'm fairly confident all that's tight. But just to be sure, I'm going to try and pull on everything really good here and just you know, make sure nothing has any play in it, and then as I'm taking it apart, I'll be checking further as well. Okay, and now as I remove the wheel, I'm just going to slide it under the edge of the car, because I'm actually I'm not using any jack stands. I've got the jack just under the center of the car, so I can raise and lower it quickly to check things. I'm not actually climbing under the car. I'm just working like this in the wheel well, so I'm going to be just fine. I do recommend you use jack stands at all times, so do as I say and not as I do. So now we're gonna give all this stuff in here a good feel, and make sure that you know, everything's tight in here as well, and visually inspect things like the control arm bushings and stuff. But just as I thought, everything looks nice and tight. Brakes are nice, look like they're wearing nice. So we're just gonna loosen off that jam nut and get started here. Okay guys, I have a time-proven process that's going to make this very easy. Start with a wire brush and just clean up those exposed threads there really good. And clean up the jam nut all up to it. Because you got to back the jam nut off onto these threads, so there's no point in having a bunch of mud and rust there to fight. Now take a torch if you have one. I mean, this makes it a lot easier if you've got a torch. And don't get this real hot, because you know, you don't want to melt the boot here. You don't want to, you know, change the hardness of the steel here. You don't want to affect that at all. So just go easy on it, but just get it a little warm. Okay, the reason why we do that is because when we drip oil on it now, I use 3-in-1 oil, it'll actually wick in. It'll pull the oil in, the heat will pull the oil in, and you don't need very much heat to do that. So as I say, go easy on the heat there. You don't need a lot. So I'm just gonna lock a pair of vice grips onto the tie rod here so that I can hold it steady. And then you'll have to excuse my 22, this is 22 millimeter here, and my 22 millimeter wrench is cut off because I use it for oxygen sensors. So just make my own handle here. So there we go, that broke loose rather easy. And you can see that jam nut is backing right off now. Now the tie rod, not the tie rod end, but the inner tie rod here is gonna try and turn on you too. It hasn't yet, so I'm not holding it yet, but there's a spline here that you can lock your vice grips onto. And once this is loose, you can just sort of let the ball joint take care of that end. As long as you're not putting a lot of pressure on it, it'll be fine. So just make sure those are snug on there. I'll put that there. Just back this off. Okay, so that might be enough, and now just gonna heat that up again now that I've got that gap there, and get some oil wick down into the actual tie rod end as well. So again, I'm not putting very much heat on there. That's not affecting the metal at all or anything like that. I mean, I can still touch that, just to give you an idea. It's warm, but I can hold my hand on it. So okay, so now actually I'm gonna hold the tie rod there with my adjustable wrench, big adjustable, just to keep the tension off the joint here. Some of the tie rods have a hex here or whatever. There's always a way. So see, you can see that inner tie rod is just turning nicely. Pay attention to the boot. Normally the boot will start to spin on there, so it'll be fine. But if it's twisting up, you may have to loosen that clamp there. So I'm just gonna use my vice grips as the wrench and keep turning that in until I think I got it close, and then I'm gonna put the wheel back on and see how close I really am. Okay, so I just got the wheel on there with 2 lug nuts again, and I just went and checked the steering wheel. Remember, I said that's important to keep doing that. It was it had moved on me, so I just moved it back, and now I'm gonna check it. Had I not checked that, my this would be totally inaccurate. But okay, so this is looking really good actually. It's pretty well where I want it, to be honest. So I'm gonna leave that side alone now. Of course, the car's not on the ground, so it could change a little bit, but I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side and get the other side looking like this in the air. And then when they're both like that, I'll drop the car down and check them again on the ground. If everything looks good at that point, I will road test it and confirm that it tracks nicely. I'm just out here on the highway, just test driving the car after the alignment. I did have to tweak it a little bit after I dropped it back on the ground there, so make sure that you're checking it again when you set the weight of the car down. You can actually do some adjustment with the wheels on the ground, like reaching around the tires. I find it kind of a pain, and when everything's seized up in there initially, I like to just pop the wheels off, and that way I can get at the rust and the grit and get it all cleaned up and oiled so everything turns nicely. But I did do those final tweaks with the wheels on so that I could have the tape along there as I was doing it. And you can see the results here. The wheels nice and centered. The car's tracking really nicely now. And when I weave around and stuff, it's really on point now. It's nice and stable. Before it was feeling kind of jerky and jumpy, and there's none of that now, so I've definitely fixed the issue. So I hope you found the video helpful. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more, and have yourself a great day. One other point that I nearly forgot to mention, because I do deal with a lot of older vehicles myself, and that's mostly what I drive but a lot of vehicles like 2000 and up, and even some older than that, all brand new vehicles, they have a steering angle sensor, and so you want to get that reset. If your car has it after doing this alignment, you want to go in and have that reset, because it's very important. That's for your stability control and whatnot. That's the sensor that tells the car's computer basically how much steering input you're giving to the car in any particular situation.